Hey guys, welcome to my kitchen. Another big exciting day in my kitchen. Where are we going? What are we making? So I'm going to tell you something. We're going to go to northern Italy and we're going to make something that's really delicious. It's delicate, it's rich, it's fast, it's fun, it's easy. It's something that you'll have, like I said, in that northern region because it's made with puff pastry. We're going to make a tomato tart with puff pastry. Puff pastry is really something from France. So you're going to see butter, flour, things that are a little heavier or richer from that northern region of Italy. First thing you're gonna need is Frank Sinatra playing. Brings me back to my childhood that I'm cooking in the kitchen with my dad, my brother Tony, and Nona Caroline. So all right, so enough storytelling. Let's get cooking. Let's start having some fun. What are you gonna need here, guys? You're gonna need some tomatoes. So we're gonna use the big ones here. We're gonna use some big tomatoes. It doesn't really matter what type of tomato. You're gonna want right around a pound-ish of tomatoes. Here I've got 3 large tomatoes. Next thing you're gonna need some garlic. The flavor of Italy. You're only gonna need 1 clove, though I could probably put this whole bunch of garlic in there. There's no doubt about that. So we're gonna use 1 clove of garlic. One of my favorite herbs, guys. One of my favorite herbs. You know, do you think Genoa? You think pesto? You think pasta? Boy, I'll tell you, basil is just a delicious, aromatic perfume, as they say in Italiano. So we're gonna use about 5 or 6 leaves of basil. You're gonna need 1 egg. We're gonna beat that up. We're gonna use that on the crust. We're gonna use oregano. Nothing screams tomato or like pizza other than oregano. So in this case, we're using 1/2 teaspoon of oregano. And now we're gonna use some rosemary. So we're using 1/4-ish to 1/3 teaspoon of rosemary. Next, you're gonna need puff pastry. So you're gonna want something about 1 foot by 10 inches-ish. And what I've got right here is puff pastry. It's from France. I'll tell you who carries a phenomenal puff pastry is Trader Joe's. Love their brand. So I've got 1 sheet of puff pastry. I took it out of the freezer for about an hour. Here I've got some dried mozzarella, and I've got 1 cup of shredded dried mozzarella. That'll be just awesome. It's gonna create that goo. You can use a fontina cheese or a mix. That'll be absolutely fantastic. You can use a goat cheese on this. Hell, you could use a feta. You can use a caciocavallo. You can use all different types of cheeses. Now you're thinking, man, Joe, what about some Parmesan or Reggiano? Hey, how you doing? Absolutely. Look at this chunk. We're gonna want about 1 cup of some grated Parmesan Reggiano. You're gonna want an extra virgin, preferably an Italian olive oil, something grassy, earthy, peppery. Where would I go? Oh, I know where I would go. I would get Vito and Joe's extra virgin Italian olive oil. So for anybody new to our channel, we have a farm in Italy. It's actually in Puglia, just above the heel. We co-op with a whole group of farms in that region to bring you some of the best extra virgin Italian olive oil you're ever gonna have. I know what you're thinking. You're like, Joe, I would love to get it. So just go to my Facebook page, my Instagram, the YouTube description, our website, Cooking Italian with Joe. Just click by it now. You can grab yourself a small bottle, large bottle. We'll drop ship it right to your front doorstep. I always think of it as taking a trip to Italy right in the bottle. A couple other things you're gonna need. You're gonna need some salt. So I want something briny and kind of soft, a little bit more, if you will, earthy, softer on the palate. So here I've got some briny Sicilian sea salt. It's just delicious. It's a little bit more delicate and it's sexy. So Sicilian sexy. I got a little Sicilian in me, so it's gotta be sexy. You know what I'm saying? So we're gonna use 1/2 teaspoon or so of some salt. You can't make this tomato tart without some pepper. So fresh ground is the only way to go. Again, we're probably gonna use about 1/2 teaspoon of fresh ground black pepper. Are you done yet, Joe? No, I'm not done. A couple other things. You're gonna want a cookie sheet here, cookie pan, and you're gonna want some parchment. You're also gonna wanna preheat your oven about 400 degrees. All right, what do you say? Enough chatting, let's get cooking. Step number 1, we wanna prep our tomatoes. So we wanna cut them long way. We wanna create a beautiful, like, visual display of tomato, and you're gonna need to slice them thin, not razor thin, but certainly thin. That way they're gonna cook well and fully when they're on top of our puff pastry. We're also gonna get a paper towel, sharp knife, and a little bit of salt. I'm gonna cut right off that first bottom one, so that one I don't want. I'm gonna discard that. You figure maybe 1/8 of an inch, just a tad bit thicker, and you're just gonna cut it just like that. About 2 whisks of the back of a knife. Now I'm gonna take my sexy Sicilian salt here, and I'm gonna do a little sprinkle on top of the tomatoes. and that's gonna help draw out some of that fluid. We're gonna let these set for about 20 minutes. That'll maximize the amount of moisture that gets drawn out of those tomatoes. Let's talk garlic, guys. We're gonna use 1 clove of garlic. We're gonna give it a 1 good crack here, and then just open it right up. Garlic press, best way to go. Now guys, if you can believe it, sometimes you'll have somebody over and they say they don't like garlic. You ever heard that before? So my advice to you, immediately kick them right out of your house. I mean, you already know it's not gonna work out. Tell them to get out. Now look at that. That is like vampire repellent right there. Isn't that just great? Look at that. Oh, that is delicious. Now guys, let's prep our puff pastry. That is not easy to say, you know what I mean? Pickle, piper, you know what I'm saying? Couple of quick tips here to make this come out great with your parchment. What I do is I take a little Vito and Joe's and I smear it right on the bottom of the cookie sheet. That way, my parchment, see when I put it down, it actually kind of sticks to the bottom, which is great. Also, before I put my puff pastry on, I'm gonna take just a little bit of olive oil, just a drizzle, maybe a teaspoon. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna spread that all the way across my parchment paper. That way, when I put my puff pastry on, it won't stick. Now guys, I'm gonna take that puff pastry, spread it. Oh, that's beautiful. Now I'm gonna just slide it where I need to, and then you can just gently stretch it, real gently. It's nice when you do this because it's easier to stretch with the olive oil. Now before you load this up, guys, just make sure you go ahead and put some holes throughout your puff pastry. Those fork holes will give the steam an exit. So now everything will cook evenly and lay nice and flat. I'll give you another tip that makes this come out absolutely delicious is when you subscribe to the channel. So click that big black button, boom, it welcomes you, that's my handshake, to the Cooking Italian with Joe family. Make sure you hit that notification bell. That way we got anything going on the farm, you'll be the first one to know. And give us a thumbs up. That way it'll share, I guess the algorithm, it'll share our videos with other people looking to have some fun, cooking along with us on some great Italian recipes. Now I know what you're thinking, Joe, what are you gonna do with that egg? I always like to start off with a clear dish. That way when you crack it, if the egg's bad or you get any shells in there, you don't contaminate your food, right? So I'm gonna go ahead and pop it right in there. Now take a fork and scramble that egg up there, mix it up well. We're gonna go a heavy egg on the outside of the puff pastry. That's gonna give it a nice, beautiful flavor. It's gonna give it a gorgeous golden crust. Take our mozzarella, we're gonna take almost all of it, maybe 2/3 of it, and we're gonna go inside the egg wash border. We're gonna save a little bit just to sprinkle on the top and get it right up on that edge. Same thing, about 2/3 of the Parmesan Reggiano. We're gonna do oregano, but we wanna save some for the top as well. So use about 3/4 of it and just a light spread. Yep, I know you're seeing the pattern here. Same thing with the rosemary. When it comes to our garlic, we can use all of our garlic, so same thing. I think this is an aphrodisiac. I'll let you know in a couple hours. Seriously though, if you want the garlic off your hands, just take some brushed stainless steel, rinse your hand under some water, it'll come right off. We're gonna take a little salt here, a light sprinkle of salt, real light. Remember, the cheese has salt in it. And in this case, I wanna go right around the edge on the border as well. It'll stick with that egg wash. So we're probably using about a 1/2 teaspoon at best. Now we're gonna use some black pepper all the way across. Same thing, about a 1/2 teaspoon. Try to keep this on the cheese portion. So I'm gonna grab a few leaves of the basil, and you guys can cut it, and I'm not saying not to, but when you're in Old Italy, they never really cut basil, they tear it. But I'll tell you the aroma of that, look at that, isn't that just delicious? So pull that stem off, that's always a little bit bitter, and then just pull a few sheets of basil off. I like to go under the tomato with much of it because that way it won't burn on the top. Now we're gonna save a couple pieces of the fresh basil for the finish. We're gonna take our olive oil and we're gonna drizzle probably about 2 tablespoons right over the top and try to keep it right on the cheese. Now when it comes to our tomatoes, I wanna rinse these off individually with some cold water. Easiest way, take a bowl, take a strainer, fill it with water. We're gonna put our tomatoes right inside. Little quick bath. Now we're gonna dry these off again, just pat it with a paper towel. Perfect. And then I'm just gonna put them off to the side. Take your best looking tomatoes. You can overlap them just a bit if you have to. Keep them off the border. Isn't that gorgeous? So we got a couple tomatoes left, but that's exactly the look we're looking for. And ever so lightly, only the tomatoes now. Just a really slight sprinkle. Ever so lightly with some fresh ground pepper. Leftover oregano, again, really light sprinkle. Same thing with our rosemary. Light sprinkle of our mozzarella. Last bit is the Parmesan Reggiano. Boy, does that look delicious. What, can you guys get the aroma of that right there? Ho ho! So we got that oven, again, preheated 400 degrees. We're gonna go about 20 to maybe 30 minutes. So I'm gonna put it right in the middle rack. I'm gonna check it after about 10 minutes and then maybe turn it just to make sure everything's cooking evenly. Every oven's got its own little personality. Looking for even browning around the outside, and we're looking for even but total cooking of those tomatoes. So I'm gonna set this for 10 minutes in case I gotta spin it. I'm gonna pop it right there. Frank's plan. Talk to you guys in a few. Just came out of the oven, looks beautiful. I know in the camera it looks a little burned there, but it's not. It's just a dark golden brown. That's beautiful. So I got my famous pizza cutter here, and I'm gonna go right in with the tomatoes there. That's beautiful. And you can put a couple of basil leaves on there. Yeah, that looks just gorgeous. Doesn't that look great, guys? The last thing I'm gonna do, I'm just gonna take a couple of leaves of my basil and I'm gonna cut them up, roll them up a little bit, get them 1 or 2 cuts this way, and then give them a cut or 2 this way. Sprinkle that right over the top. Oh, that's great. Guys, that is absolutely gorgeous. All right, now, favorite time we're gonna taste it. So I got some crust on the outside, just gorgeous. Tomatoes, the aroma is great. Puff pastry's cooked perfect. And it's still warm, but not hot, guys. There you go. Oh boy, I wish I could give it to you. You know that's gonna be Christmas in your mouth right there, right? First thing you get is the basil, you know, that perfuma, that just beautiful aroma, and then the oregano, and then the tomato, the olive oil, the rosemary. You definitely get those herbs and tomato, and then you can get the butter, the puff pastry, a little bit of the garlic. The intensity of the tomato is so deep. It's almost like a tomato paste. And as you keep chewing, you get that dough, that gooiness of the dough with the olive oil, Parmesan Reggiano, and the mozzarella. It gives you that gooey texture with the gooiness of the puff pastry as it chews, mixes with the tomato. Boy, that is delicious. All the herbs literally just lights up your mouth. It's like a garden in your mouth. So delicious. Guys, thanks so much for joining me in my kitchen today. Now remember, guys, hit the subscribe button. Make you part of the Cooking Italian with Joe family. It means the world to me. Make sure you hit that thumbs up. That'll help share our videos. And then that notification bell, click that. That way anything we got going on the farm, our blog, any recipes, travel tips come right to your notification box. Also, visit us on our webpage, Instagram page, the description here down below, and YouTube. Grab yourself a few bottles of Vito and Joe's extra virgin Italian olive oil. Love to drop ship you a few bottles right to your front doorstep. Take a trip to Italy right in a bottle. And last, guys, and really the main reason we do these videos, I'll tell you, is spend some time with your family once a month, a couple times a month. You know, shut off the computer, the TV, get rid of that cell phone, you know, and get around the table and make stuff, cook stuff, burn stuff, whatever. And I'll tell you what you do, you're gonna celebrate your heritage, whatever that might be. But even more important than that, guys, you're gonna set traditions of love with your family. They're gonna last your lifetime. I know they did for me. Hey guys, from my kitchen to yours. Until next week, mwah, buon appetito.